Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. HeirofCarthage here, and today we get a first look at Total War Pharaoh, which is the next historical Total War that was recently announced. Now this is battle footage that I got to play on an early build of the game. So that's why you're going to see the whole development and progress thing down there on it, watermarked and everything, because like I said, this was definitely very early access for it. Now, I was only able to play a few different battles. Each of these was a different scenario. This one is going to be a Ramesses versus Seti battle. It's kind of in a more open desert environment. And one of the things that they really tried to hammer home, and by the way, I'm kind of just showing you all these units here in the background in case you want to take this in. This army was nothing super impressive, as this was the easiest of the three scenarios. And it's just going to be kind of an introductory here. So yes, they were really pushing how weather is supposed to make impacts in these battles. Not just impacts on like certain characteristics for your men in battle, so like for instance making them slower or maybe making missiles less accurate, but it also could have an impact on certain types of terrain. So for instance, rain can turn certain types of terrain into mud and cause real downsides for heavy units, whereas not as bad for light units. So there's these subtleties that they tried to hit home, and definitely weather seemed like it was going to be a thing. Hopefully I'll get a shot of it here in a minute. I honestly don't remember exactly what I recorded because I recorded this in the build while we had access to it. But the skyboxes were beautiful. The units look really nice, at least so far, and the game played really smooth, and I really felt like it felt a lot like Troy. And you all are probably seeing that in terms of the look here that you're getting. I would say that a lot of the unit banners and stuff look that way too. So I definitely was getting vibes of Troy in terms of the aesthetic of the game and the feel of the game. However, there were some different things. Sorry, I was also trying to get used to the camera controls. It was a little bit different. Here's Seti's unit over here, by the way. I'll show you that. So both Seti's unit and Ramesses' bodyguard unit in this case are Khopesh wielding heavy infantry. They're going to be, or it calls them medium infantry here, but they were, I'm calling them heavy because they were just tougher and better armored than most things on the battlefield. But yeah, in this one it's going to be pretty straightforward. The two armies are squared off apart from each other. I was interested to see what the pace of battle is like here. Is it really fast? Like, so for instance, starting in Shogun 2, clashes of troops would be lightning fast, and you could have extremely quick and decisive engagements. Some of that seems to have slowed down a little bit in, say, like Rome 2, and older games like Medieval 2 is considerably slower, so I was really curious to see what that's like. Also in these battles, I didn't get a chance to really get super hands-on with it, but there was feature for like a stance for your units. One of the stances they introduced that's pretty exciting to me was to give ground. So we were able to set a unit like a skirmisher, for instance, to give ground and to kind of fall back, helping to lure enemy troops in, kind of like we see in history occasionally. For heavier units, they had a push stance where they could push deeper into enemy lines, throwing that weight class of theirs around. Yeah, here's the skybox. Battlefield is absolutely beautiful. Really was quite spectacular. So in any case, yeah. Let's see. The battle's about to get underway. Like I said, I'm not controlling this live. I recorded this after, and then I'm commentating on it even after that. So as I approach the enemy army, they're going to open fire on me. I had Medjay archers, and I believe they had slingers, and it seemed like their slingers had slightly better range. But I was able to get into range pretty quickly and start trading shots with my archers. This seemed to have concerned the enemy AI, which then began a charge before my archers really had a whole lot more time to fire. So the AI, I'm assuming in this case the AI figured that it would lose this ranged engagement. So as the enemy troops barrel forward, I'm going to be pushing my own melee troops forward to meet them and to clash with them. Now another thing that's going to be making its way back in this game is going to be matched combat animations. That's an interesting one to me. They're definitely adding it for immersion's sake. Speaking of immersion, I can't even tell who's here, like who's who here in terms of immersion. So yeah, in any case, the matched combat was cool in a way. We had it in Rome 2. It went away after Rome 2. It caused a lot of like ice skating and units trying to get in formation with each other, and it caused some weird stuff. So if they bring it back and it's an improvement, I think it would be a good thing to add, as it does make the battles look a little more real. And you'll notice here that both sides of the line have clashed. They hit each other in a pretty firm charge, but neither one is just completely falling apart and immediately routing. So the combat here does seem to be in this case, a little slower than I might have initially expected. Now, there's also not huge monsters or magic or, big heavy cavalry units smashing into the back of this formation. So that could definitely be playing a role in how much longer it takes. It is Bronze Age, though. I don't expect we're going to have these big, wild, heavy cavalry charges. Though I do believe we'll see some chariots and possibly some other light horse units. But in any case, this one, like I said, was fairly straightforward. I got in the comment, I did move my Ramesses bodyguard around the flank, and I came around behind Seti's bodyguard and attacked it from behind. The AI, though, was putting sling stones into me, and here you can actually see a sandstorm kicking up. This was the dynamic weather system that they had mentioned, so as this fight continues, there's going to be sand kicking up. It's actually going to start doing damage to all the units on the battlefield because it's biting and irritating and stuff like that, so it kind of makes the battle a little more intense in that sense that the weather can change, and the way that weather changes could play a role in how you may want to fight out the rest of the battle. These are some of my, I believe some of my better units here. I had some sword units, these Medjay swords. Pretty cool looking swords. I like that kind of bronze color they got going on top. But yeah, anyway, like you can see, the battle was not progressing at some alarming rate in terms of like just straight casualties. And you'll notice that this video isn't particularly long, which obviously means the battle is not going to be tremendously long. But again, it's not like a clash and immediately there's 700 casualties type of situation in terms of the combat. There you can see my Seti unit outflanking Ramesses. The units in this game look like they're going to have a lot of special features that we saw in both Troy and later in Warhammer 3, like kind of a devastating flanker type of unit, so like they get an extra bonus when flanking. There's units who are going to be better at holding a front line. When you were in Troy, there were units who were very specifically defensive. There were units that were very specifically offensive. There were units that were very specifically fast. And some that were tankier and slower. I think we're going to see a lot of that here, just based on the way this battle felt to me. Now, most units in this one are pretty light. We got to play 2 other battles, though, that increased in difficulty. We kind of had like an easy, a medium, and a hard, and I will be showing you footage from all of those. So I do feel like that in a lot of ways we're going to see some of those features come from Troy. Now, for some of you, me saying that things would come from Troy, that means you're probably going to hate it. And honestly, I don't know why. Troy, it didn't resonate for me at first, but when they came back and revisited Troy and added in the mythic stuff, the unit diversity just got even better. And honestly, Troy was really, really good for me by the end of its life. I didn't play it a ton because people weren't watching it on the channel and they weren't playing it, which in a way was kind of sad because it really was quite a good game. I think after some of the launch debacle with like Epic and stuff, this game does, to me, bring back some of the good feels. And you can see that the enemy army there did break as I was chewing into their leader. Their morale couldn't hold. The sandstorm was creating issues, and I was able to break them. So a really cool looking battle. Some nice carnage down here on the battlefield. You can see the bodies laying around. Again, the game looks beautiful. It was very fluid to play. Like, it didn't feel chunky or laggy or anything like that for me. And the battle had time for me to be making decisions like, oh, maybe I should move this unit around to the flank. Maybe I should change the way this unit's engaging. Like, it didn't just happen instantly in the fight. So in any case, it was curious to see that dynamic weather come into play. The sandstorm definitely played a role in me being able to gain some victory here as I kind of weakened the enemy troops and then they fell apart a little bit easier because they started taking damage just like I did from that sandstorm. But anyway, yeah, kind of Troy-esque in my first outing here with it. But you know what? There's going to be more, and I will show you that. I'm going to head to the end screen here, though, so you can see the stats. I was told that I could show you the end screen. We don't do any menus or loading screens or anything else like that, but this was the end battle screen. We still get to see the stats coming through here. It doesn't have all the stats like we've seen, but again, this is an early version. So Ramesses gains his victory over Seti in my first ever battle on Total War Pharaoh.